At New Yorker, Michaela Schifrin has won gold in the giant slalom at the 2018 Winter Olympics in Pyeongchang, South Korea. Revisit Nick Baumgarten's profile of the athlete. Florida law enforcement officials identified the suspected gunman in the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School as Nicholas Cruz. The suspect's full name, Nicholas D. Jesus Cruz, was identified. At Monato, the gunman at today's mass shooting in Florida used a military-grade AR-15 assault rifle to carry out his rampage. Is this really what our founding fathers wanted to defend with the Second Amendment North Fire Systems coverage of Fox News Capitol Hill Florida shooting?
One more for good taste.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
At 4chan's list, genius 4chan hackers expose Anon as the pedophile. At Cernovich, leftists wear J-shirts and praise Talon mass murderers. No way do we give those who support death camps our guns. At Yashar, At Bevil Santifa 2. WTF, this is Alexa Meadnick, a senior at Douglas HS who claims she saw and spoke to the suspect after shots were fired and percent believes there was someone else shooting.
Everyone needs to evacuate right now, so that's what we did. As I was going down the stairs, I heard a couple shots fired. Everyone was freaking out, saying that it was a gun. And as we were walking, the whole class together, I actually was speaking to the suspect, Nicholas Cruz. And as I was speaking to him, he seemed very, I don't know what the word I want to say is, but he was trouble in middle school, so I kind of joked to him about it and said, I'm surprised you weren't the one who did it. And he just gave me a huh? So that's really what happened.
You were walking down the hall, he had already fired at that time.
Yes, sir, with him.
Weren't you scared?
In the moment I wasn't, because there was obviously definitely another shooter involved. But
oh, you think he was not the only one?
no, definitely not.
Why do you say that?
Because when shots were fired, I saw him after the fact. So, and the shots were coming from the other part of the building. So there definitely had to be two shooters involved, I believe.
That's the first I've heard of that. Did you see any other students who were wounded?
No, sir.
At Bevil Santifa 2. That's normal, right?
Here. What's going on here? They are putting some sort of weaponry, it looks like, in the truck. And they're throwing off supplies, maybe?
At Bevil Santifa 2. Well, now WTF is going on here?
Where is he? There's nobody on that. Are you fucking kidding me? Bullshit, there was nobody on that.
At Jack Snow Knows. I spent the day with Mrs. Snow. It is Valentine's Day, and although we're grandparents, we still celebrate it. Usually, when I spend the day with Mrs. Snow, I turn off my news notifications, but I forgot to do that today. I didn't hear the headline to her. Florida shooting one. In the wake of another horrific mass shooting, we need to urge Congress to pass comprehensive legislation to reduce gun violence. It is critical that we keep up the peace. At CNN, Jim Himes, whose home state endured Sandy Hook, says there will be a perfectly predictable response to Florida's shooting. People will wish everybody thoughts and prayers, and then the Congress of the United States will do absolutely nothing. At Thomas 1774 Payne. Tom Cotton says them's on any doca deal failure. Saying, Tom Cotton RR, told conservative radio host Hugh Hewitt Tuesday there is no question congressional Democrats will be blamed if they are fooled. At Thomas Victor, 1, since the school is trying to politicize this, let us tell the truth. The Broward County Sheriff's Office in Florida is responding to reports of a shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland. There are reports of victims.
Located very close to the high school where this shooting happened. So fortunately for everybody, they brought these patients to our hospital, and we were able to do a great job to do the right thing.
At Olive Thorgaz. As a Southern woman, I've learned the art of using the phrase bless your heart. There are several ways to use it, but I am using my phone way below for the Michelle Obama portrait. Bless your heart, Michelle. The background color is lovely. Obama portrait smug. As children were shot and killed in the hallways of their school in Florida, Trump and his team went into hiding. At Sarah Palanusa, president of the National Sheriff's Association, is pushing back on claims. Democrat lawmakers have repeatedly charged President Trump of disrespecting law enforcement agencies such as the Department of Justice and the president of the National Sheriff's Association age. At Cernovich, at Sportsmatkuan. This is a weird interview. Who took it? Watch it and let me know what you think. At Real Savira. She seems to be acting because anytime she says something that doesn't match what has been reported, she smiles. At Via Europe. Italy election regional vote predicts anti-Lega Nord to win in bellwether poll. Italy's anti-European Union Lega Nord has surged ahead in the polls in the Lombardy region and is predicted to take 41% of the votes in local level. At Andy Campbell, at Night Times. More opinion from the At Night Times new lead opinion writer on the editorial board, Quinn Norton. At RT.com. Watch flames engulf a Chicago Metro train carriage after a man tries to light himself on fire.
From the picture, as if airbrushed out, there are no women. In some of the outskirts of Paris, men have taken over public spaces, and women are putting up with it. To demonstrate the kind of reaction they get from men, they visit a local cafe with a hidden camera. Before they even get inside, their presence seems to disturb the other clients. There are only men in here, and they're not very welcoming.
Le mieux, c'est d'attendre dehors.
Pourquoi?
Ici, avec des hommes.
Bah, c'est pas grave, on vit dans un monde où il y a des hommes et des femmes. Ça vous dérange, vous?
Moi, c'est pour vous.
Non, pour moi.
The bar owner doesn't want to talk. The other customers, meanwhile, are uncomfortable.
Je m'en fous. On va se faire discrète, petite, dans un coin.
Il y a que des mecs dans ce café.
Et comment c'est normal qu'il n'y a que des mecs? Imagine que tu veux prendre un café avec une cousine, une amie, ta femme. Non? Normal. Ta cousine, elle reste chez elle. Ah bon?
Elle fait ce qu'elle veut, mais pas avec moi. Ben voilà, dans ce café, il n'y a pas de mixité.
Est-ce que c'est normal?
À Sevran, on n'est pas à Paris.
Même à Sevran, c'est la France.
C'est dans le 93.
Et alors, le 80... Et alors?
À Paris, c'est des mentalités différentes. C'est comme anglais.
At Olympics. Let it all out, Michaela. You're a gold medalist once again. Winter Olympics best of us. At Donenro, at FDRLS, at Domenech 1. Just did an hour on at FDRLST Radio W at Domenech. Jonah Goldberg joined the Federalist Radio Hour to discuss the anger toward never-Trumpers and the rise of identity politics in every political party. At Chuck Grassley. Incensed by Sessions' letter and attempt to undermine Grass leader Bingley bipartisan criminal justice reforms, this bill deserves thoughtful consideration before mightn't Ags execute laws Congress writes them. At MCSPOCKY. Stormy Daniels believes Trump lawyer broke non-disclosure agreement over alleged affair.
Currently underway, several offices as well of Nirav Modi, and remember there were raids that were taking place at his residences and offices in January as well. So those are the first visuals that we are playing out at this point in time of the raids. Siddhant is joining us. Siddhant, we put out the first visuals of the raids taking place by the ED. Just give us more clarity and in detail as far as where all these raids are taking place. I believe this is a showroom of Nirav Modi.
Well, absolutely. We were the first to report that the ED has started raiding residences and premises of Nirav Modi. And the visuals that we are getting is of his office in Kalagoda. This is the first place where ED teams have reached. We broke the story at the time that ED teams had started moving for the raids. And this is the first raid that we are getting in. The visuals that we are breaking here on our screens are of the Kalagoda premises of Nirav Modi. And this ED case is regarding the money laundering case, because now the Enforcement Directorate has come to a conclusion that this is the case of a money laundering as far as siphoning off of the funds from the country to the foreign country is concerned. And this is the reason that 3 other companies are also involved in this entire case. And even very soon the lookout notices can be issued against the directors and owners of those companies. But as far as these raids are concerned, they are going on currently in the offices all across the Mumbai and in the residences residence of Nirav Modi and the directors of 3 other companies also. So now in total 2 cases have been registered by the CBI and 1 by the Enforcement Directorate against the Nirav Modi and the fellow companies. And not only this, later after these FIRs and the allegation that Punjab National Bank had come out with the fraudulent of 10,000 crore rupees. So even that is the fresh charge on Nirav Modi. And immediately after that allegation, Nirav Modi had written to the banks and Nirav Modi had written to the banks and written to the banks that how he's going to repay the funds and the money. But this morning itself, the association
Another mountain of money is being brought home to U.S. shores following the new tax law, and much of it will end up in the pockets of investors.
apoyarse y de tener una vida en amor y respeto mutuo.
Меня зовут Марина Игнатьева. Мы очень-очень рады, что сегодня мы наконец-то познакомились. Спасибо большое всем, кто нам помогал, кто нам помог. Спасибо.
Es la base para lograr una vida familiar en unidad y armonía, una sociedad más humana.
También tienen derecho, ¿verdad?, a ejercer una paternidad y una maternidad. Esposas pueden pensar a sus esposos. Y felicidades a todos y a todas.
News and current affairs from Germany and around the world. DW. President Juncker defense system against French calls for reform. News DW 14.2018. German arrested for pushing policeman into streetcar. News DW 13.2018.
Remember what happened during the last presidency when 17 people would be killed in a school in America? The President of the United States would speak about it. The President of the United States would go into the White House press briefing room or wherever he was and say something about it and talk to the country about it. Put it into some kind of terms, some kind of context for the country to think about it. This President of the United States has not spoken a single word. He lazily tweeted 2 tweets at about 1 p.m. today. Just spoke to Governor Rick Scott. We're working closely with law enforcement. And then the "my prayers and condolences" tweet. That's it. Not one word, not one human expression to the victims, about the victims, nothing. Absolute, total silence from the President of the United States. We're going to have more on the Florida school massacre in a moment, but first, there is some breaking news tonight in the latest Trump White House chaos. Last night on this program, I asked when we would next hear from FBI Director Christopher Wray about the security clearance process for former White House staffer Rob Porter, who was forced to leave the White House last week after accusations from his 2 former wives became public, saying that he was physically abusive and violent with them, including punching one of them and giving her a black eye. Yesterday, the FBI director said that the White House was not telling the truth when they put out the story last week that the background investigation on Rob Porter had not yet been completed.
New York
FBI
prosecutor sues Harvey Weinstein's studio ahead of reported failed news DW 12.2018
to the White House in March of last year, and then a final report in July of last year. And now we know when we are going to learn even more precise details than that about the FBI investigation. February 28th, or possibly sooner. February 28th is just the deadline that the chairman of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, Republican Trey Gowdy, gave the FBI director today in a letter demanding information about the Rob Porter investigation. By answering Trey Gowdy's questions, the FBI director is going to prove exactly who is
going to buy the
lying
International
in the
Space
Trump
Station
White House.
wired.
Chairman Gowdy wants to know, quote, what derogatory information was subsequently made available to the White House on Porter when
Amazon surpasses Microsoft in market value for the first time.
To know, quote, the date on which any White House employee became aware of
China, we are near Arctic state and we want a polar Silk Road.
Disqualifying information on Porter, and which individual was so notified. February 28th is going to be a devastating news day for the Trump White House.
Sports thrive in North Korea despite sanctions.
February 28th is just a deadline, as I said, and Christopher Wray and the FBI might be ready to answer all of those questions right now in detail. Maybe make them public next week. Tonight, NBC News reports more than 130 political
DACA insanity. Another judge blocks Trump elects Jones in 4 hours later. So we're on for your mind.
Permanent security clearances as of November 2017, including the president's daughter, son-in-law, and top legal counsel, according to internal White House documents obtained by NBC News. Joining us now, Maria Teresa Kumar, President and CEO of Voto Latino and an MSNBC contributor, and back with us, Kurt Anderson. And Maria Teresa, there's so much to talk about in these developments, but the big NBC News reporting tonight, not only Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump, but the White House counsel himself has not, at last check, completed his own security clearance process.
Well, and this is the problem. What Americans need to take a step back and say, if there is some sort of security breach, an emergency such as what we just witnessed
US
today
going to buy the
Florida,
International Space Station wired.
people advising the president do not have security clearance to access the information that we need to ensure that we keep Americans safe. That is a problem. And I think what we're finding right now is that not only is this White House incredibly incompetent, but they have so many issues that they have their toes in so many different sectors that the FBI basically feels like they are not competent nor secure enough to share some of our country's deepest secrets.
Kurt, the FBI is going to nail this thing down with real precision, thanks to Trey Gowdy, Republican chairman, doing the right thing, asking the right questions.
The guy who tried to get to the bottom of Benghazi now has an actual...
he did get to the bottom of it. He found there was no bottom.
No, it is extraordinary. And that the Ray yesterday just put the lie to so many different lies that the White House has told about the timing of when they learned anything. The fact that they felt, the FBI, that they had a complete investigation last summer around the time that John Kelly came to be chief of staff. So he can't claim, what? I wasn't aware of that. And then they were asked for more information. It was administratively closed, the FBI, Ray said of the FBI, of this background check in January, weeks before according to Kelly and Trump and the rest, they'd ever heard about it. So, yes, and now we will know
Intel Chief
precisely
sound alarm on China threat Alex Jones InfoWars there as a war on for your mind.
But let's not forget the underlying thing. As interesting as this new revelation of White House compulsive lying and the stupidity of it, let's not forget the underlying domestic violence thing, and Donald Trump's tweet or his statement today that he is opposed.
He's opposed to it.
He's opposed to it as though it's an issue.
Yeah.
Because of course there's all those people who are for it,
right.
But I'm opposed to it. Yeah. And in his statement, which again, to me was Donald Trump at his most ridiculously Trumpian in repeating that over and
Barack
over.
and Michelle Obama portraits unveiled in Washington News DW
totally
2.2018.
And said also, because his real point was to say, and everybody knows that.
Yahoo Mail free email with 1000 GB of storage.
Everybody knows it. I'm totally opposed. Because his point wasn't really to say this is a disgusting thing that this guy did who worked for me and that I think had failed to say was properly ousted. But I've always been against this. You know, it's about
drone destroys Russian T-72 battle tank in self-defense strike in Syria.
So what was your reaction to the president's forced
The
statement
impact of
today
Chechen and
saying
North
he's totally
Caucasian militants in
opposed to domestic
Syria deeply.
Well, I think the fact that when in the deposition of the deposition of his wife Ivanka's
Video CNN continues to praise North Korea. Lex Jones InfoWars there as a war on for your mind.
He had sexually assaulted her, and that was something that was part of the court
Business
order.
News
So
Markets
it's
reports
really
Financial
difficult
News
to
from
actually
Sky News.
buy his claims. I think that it's what brings to mind is the fact that my grandmother always said, Lawrence, you are who your friends are. You are who you surround yourself with. And so it's not shocking. I think what is becoming more shocking, though, is the fact that the level of and the extent to which a decorated general, chief of staff, would actually come to cover up some of these abuses and stand firmly and not see the consequences of his actions. And that is where you recognize that the people that are
17
surrounding
building
the
shooting at high
president are
school in
not necessarily
Parkland,
the best
Florida. Authorities say
and working in the best
NBC
interest of
News.
Americans in an era where so many women are coming forth and sharing their domestic violence stories.
Scouring. I find this particularly fascinating. U.S. drone destroys Russian T-72 battle tank in self-defense strike in Syria. Check this out. February 20,180 U.S. Officials confirmed on Tuesday that an American MQ-9 Reaper drone destroyed a Russian T-72 battle tank in Syria on Sunday, after U.S. Special Operations troops and their Syrian allies came under attack by forces supporting dictator Bashar Assad. The tank had been maneuvering with coordinated indirect fire on a defensive position occupied by Syrian Democratic Forces and coalition advisors. The defensive position was within effective range of the tank's weapon system, said a statement from the U.S. Central Command, quoted by Fox News. Coalition officials maintained regular contact with Russian counterparts via established deconfliction lines to avoid misperceptions, and the internet really creeps me out sometimes. Militants from Chechnya and the North Caucasus were estimated at around 4,000 in Syria at their peak. Despite their small numbers, they've had a meaningful influence on the jihadi scene in the country, according to intelligence analyst Niall Hauer. Business News #markets reports and financial news from Sky News. I was sifting through some things and I found this. The ride-hailing app has had a tough year with a series of scandals, its boss departing, and a fight to keep operating in London. The broadcasters are paying more than £4 for top-flight TV football rights, but less than the £5 splashed out last time. The company says it will have to raise more capital to cover the costs of a joint venture project after Carillion's demise. Bankers have been hired to sell Tangerine, the confectionery group behind Women Flumes, Sky News learns. Coalition destroys Russian-made tank in Syria. Gee Willikers. Washington of a US-led coalition drone has destroyed a Russian-designed tank in eastern Syria close to the scene of last week's attack on pro-regime forces that left more than 100 Damascus loyalists dead, officials said Tuesday. The strike on the T-72 tank occurred Saturday near Altavia, in Deir ez-Zor province, the Pentagon said in a statement. We detected and saw a tank that took a shot at us, Lieutenant General Jeffrey Hygian, who heads up Air Force operations for the region, told Pentagon reporters. It continued to move, so we executed self-defense rules of engagement to protect ourselves. For the most part, the US-led coalition has managed to skirt the edges of Syria's civil war by staying focused on the Islamic State group.
Greatest weekend of my life.